Now there might be, what I really worry about are people that just come into our industry. Some flipping pizza person that's out here trying to learn how to, do trim carpentry or work on a framing crew and get themselves hurt because they don't know any better, right? I'm not as worried about a group like this because you're seasoned veterans and you've been around, and you wouldn't put yourself in a unsafe situation. But what I am telling you right here today is if you find somebody asking, and I don't believe that my team's going to ask you to put yourself in an unsafe condition, but they can't be everywhere or see everything. But if it's somebody you're working with and they're doing something wrong, and believe me, this is how people get hurt, and this is how people get killed when you're not strong enough to say something to the other person who's doing the wrong thing. So I'm telling you, if it ends up being an unsafe act and it's compromising their safety or it's compromising your safety, whether you're comfortable with it or not, you need to put your hand in the air and you need to start asking questions. And that's the best way for me to stop somebody. I don't know every OSHA rule, and I don't, how many different people work on our job site. That's where I just use that CS, the common sense. And I start asking questions like, hey, can you just stop what you're doing for a minute and let me ask you a couple of questions about what you got going on here, because you're scaring the shit out of me, right? And if they can't answer you in a tone that convinces you that what they're doing is wrong, or they're asking you to do something, hey, crawl in this trench and the dirt's falling out on the sides. No, I'm not crawling in that trench. And so I'm saying it's your duty to not put yourself in that situation. Okay. So I'm going to double back to 18, and that says weekend and after hours work. So quick quiz, are you allowed to work on a Mary Kay Homes job site if one of these team members is not there? Light says yes. I'm saying no way. The answer is actually yes, you can.
Oh.
So what it says here is that no less than 2 employees are working together, though. So I don't know if that's the way your scenario runs, but this is what our rule is. And it says you must be safety trained. And then this last sentence is the crux. It says you must have the authority to take immediate corrective action when an unsafe condition or employee act exists. Now that definition right there is the definition of what OSHA calls a competent person. So I don't know if you guys have done competent training, competent person training, whether you have different people identified or the whole group, I don't know. But it must be competent person trained. Now again, this is one of those things I'm just not too friendly with, the whole OSHA rules, and some of this stuff doesn't make like common sense to me. But this is really the crux of what I just said in that last statement about being able to say something to somebody. And it says have the authority, right? So that's what you worry about with that junior person, not feeling like if they have the authority to say something. If they're the helper on the crew, being able to say something to the foreman about not wearing a hard hat or not crawling in that trench or not walking into that guy working with roof tile, right? So that's the difference. Okay, so that's what I had on safety. It's noted here as courage to intervene, and that's basically what I've been talking about all along here. That's having the ability to walk up to somebody and say something about stopping an action, the authority. Okay. The next one is maintain a clean job site. So I already said that we provide you a clean job site to start with. So we're talking about room clean every day. We're talking about picked up, cleaned up, nice, organized. If you have to leave a little bit of material behind, it's organized, right? It's not just in shambles. And then it says including others. So you might be asking yourself, is he asking you to pick somebody else's stuff up? And I'm saying, yeah, I'm asking you to pick somebody else's stuff up. If you go to trim a house and drywall sander left one of those little dust mounts laying around, or left a Coke can in the medicine cabinet hole, yeah, I'm asking you to pick that up and throw it away. Because I'm also going to ask, if the paint prepper shows up and you left a little piece of baseboard laying around, if you left a dust mask or something, I'm going to ask him to do the same. Okay. And this is that, personal best. I'm asking everybody to do just a little bit more that maybe you've done before or maybe you do for somebody else. Yeah.
And let's touch base on that. Now, that doesn't mean that the trade before you can leave, and absolutely, you're expected to clean the whole thing up. That's beyond the expectation. That's when we need to say, you need to say something, Mark, so you can get a hold of the superintendent. But realistically, if everyone tries to do a good job of cleaning up, then we'll give it. There's going to be an item that we overlooked. All right? You guys just need to get it and take it. That's it. Done.
Yeah. And so what I'm also saying about this communication part, and talk a little bit more about it here in a bit, is you can either let Mark know and he can talk with the supervisor, or you can just talk directly with this. I'm trying to open up the communication between the person doing the work and people running the work. Right? This ought to be a free flow of, I've used the word before, honest communication.
I tend to stress to them that if they go to the site superintendent, which you usually recommend, and address any issues they have with it prior to commencing. If they show up at job site Sturdy, go call them for it.
Yeah, and that's what I would expect up front. And my first expectation is that you won't show up to America Java and it's dirty, right? I said that on the first page. That's what you should expect from us. So, okay. Ensure that every task is 100% complete. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. Communicate, and this is basically the same sentence we talked about before, the openly, respectfully. The two words that I want to, kind of key in here, though, are openly and proactively. So we just kind of touched on it, but openly means, this team is part of, not part, I mean, they're the crux of getting things done on the actual job site where you guys work. So I don't know if you know, I think, it's Tucson right now, right? So I don't know Mark and Johnny, if you guys know them from Tucson or not, but if you haven't, you introduce yourself. The next time you're down there working, you see them. Okay. So this talks about consequences, and usually if you hear the word consequences, that's usually used in a negative connotation, right? But the first set of consequences I want to talk about are what are the consequences for playing by the rules, playing by these rules. So we do our mutual work efficiently, effectively, and profitably. I mean, just like I said before, I care about it, but I feel personal responsibility for people who work on their job. I mean, I feel a responsibility to provide a location and a situation where you can go and make money on the job. Now, believe me, I know today's day and age is just about as hard to make money as it ever has been, and that goes top to bottom, whether you're an owner of a company or you work for a builder or you trim houses. It's a tough market, but it is possible. And that just means we need to be more efficient, more effective. And I think part of that is making sure we all understand the rules of the game and then we play that way. Trade survey, I think, Mark, did you say you talked about this a little bit with your team, right? But so all these team members right here actually give a rating for our vendor's performance on a bi-monthly basis, so every other month. And actually, it looks like this here. So this is what we rate on every other month: safety, compliance, on-time schedule, quality of work, go back for incomplete items, job site cleanliness, and respect others' work. So they give a rating 1 through 5 every other month of Millworks, for example. 3.5, there's not a 3.5 here, but 3.5 is kind of my mental, like if you can play 3.5 or above, probably off of my personal radar.